it goes back quite a long time. About 2016, I was working for another firm at the time, and we were off to see Anglo American on something else and with an alliance partner, and I met their head of water. And after the meeting, which didn't really go well, he pulled me aside and said, would I mind just coming back and seeing him on my own at some stage? So I got a hold of him, and essentially the problem that he was trying to solve was they were about to disestablish the Lebalelo Water Users Association. I mean, the trust between government and the actual mining industry had deteriorated to such an extent that the minister, in fact, wanted to disestablish this user association. And what had happened back in 2002 was the mining industry and government had got together because the mining industry wanted to expand into the eastern limb of the Bushveld Igneous Complex, and they agreed that they would in fact put this infrastructure up. This is the mining industry. But what happened over time was the mining industry was getting water, and there were certain commitments made to get potable water to communities, and that never happened. And this created this distrust between the parties, and this blew up into a really real big problem. So what we did was we then sat down, and essentially there were two things. One was, do they go the legal route to fight this, or do they in fact come up with an alternative solution? And that's where I was sort of putting forward that idea is rather, hang on, don't go to the courts. You're just going to, this relationship will just continue to deteriorate. Let's look at an alternative. So we started, when I joined PwC in 2018, we developed a strategy for them. And that strategy actually moved into a concept study, which was an integrated solution for Lebalelo and for the program. It all comes back to what I call being authentic. Really trying to listen to your client and solve their problem. And they need to believe that. They really need to genuinely believe that you're there to solve their problem and not trying to make money out of them. So I think that's the one thing. I think the other thing is you've got to recognize that you've got to put the time in. You've got to develop the relationship, regular contact with the client. I mean, the amount of breakfasts I had with Albertus was unbelievable. We would sit down and he would have a problem. We would sit down, we'd problem solve, come up with some ideas. But that just built a relationship over time that really started to strengthen, and he really felt that you could count on you. I think over time, as we started going cross-loss and bringing more people into the equation, well, into the program, that was a way of also, strengthening that relationship, because he felt that we were really bringing the best people to him, proper skills that could actually move the program forward. So I think that was one thing as I say, and these relationships have been sustained because, we speak regularly. I think we've never really got together socially, but we spend a lot of time, together as, discussing important things. So I think the relationship took a while to, get to that trusted advisor point, but it was based on a real solid foundation of being very, very, let's say, problem-solving focused and really being authentic. So I think that, that's probably what we've grounded our relationship on. And in fact, that philosophy and that culture has filtered through into the team, and they've built really strong relationships widely across the organization. So it's something we were very, very proud of. Firstly, I'd put it down to not coming in and trying to tell the client what to do. So rather co-creating with the client, workshops. We sat down with workshops. We listened to the client. We had really good interactions. I think that's one thing that I think really, really worked well. I think the second thing is we got an ease of doing business with them. We put in a master services agreement with statements of work, which made our, as these projects started to ramp up and more projects were added, our ease of doing business to get these things signed off with them was very helpful. So again, something that I think teams should think about. The skill, bringing a cross-loss skill set that really could solve the problem, I think is critically important, and bringing those skills in really early and getting them introduced to be part of the solution. So I think one of the reasons why I think we've done very well. The other thing we did was we got into sprints and punch calls. Now, I don't know if these are, I think everybody understands sprints, but punch calls might be a little bit different. But there's a regular planning process, which we did on a 2-weekly cycle. And we would have punch calls every day, in fact, just to see what blockages there were in the system. The client was always on these calls. The workstream leaders would report back. What did they manage to do yesterday? What are they focusing on at the moment? Are there any issues that require resolution? And that was incredibly helpful, because what it did was we would nip things in the bud. We wouldn't find out a month or two later, and then we've got a train smash. So the process we put in was also very, very, very solid, and which we think worked actually very, very well. If you look at what they're trying to do as an organization, I mean, essentially they're doing two things. The strategy was based around two things. One was to become a strategic partner to government around potable and bulk raw water infrastructure. And the second one, to be a catalyst around socioeconomic development in the region that they operate. So I think that's the impact we've had. We've helped them become that strategic partner. We've got them onto that road. This project is a 24 billion rand project, capital infrastructure project. It's going to continue for about 8 years and longer. We've already started to get these socioeconomic development collaboration structures in place, which is already starting to attract a lot of interest from other areas for Lebalelo to act as an implementing agent. So they have done something, I think the value we've brought to the table is we've helped move forward a massive problem, significant problem. We tie it back to our purpose. And I truly believe this is a practical example of ESG in play. We've brought a governance structure into play, which allows the capital contributions from both parties, or from private sector and government on the one side. It is clearly addressing a social problem with 380,000 people, communities getting water, and clearly the environmental and the way we've in fact done the technical solution. Water conservation is a massive issue in the country, and the programs linked to that of cleaning up the water also is sort of at the heart of the program. So I think the impact is significant. And interestingly, what has come off the back of this is that the Department of Water has now requested that this model gets rolled out across the country. This has already led to us being involved in the Vaal Gamagara water scheme in Northern Cape, with the mines, and there's a similar sort of a situation now at play. And we are looking at actually now expanding this into other areas within the country. So we're currently actually working on a growth strategy of looking at geographical expansion of this program and also the new products and services that could be added that could essentially look, we've analyzed the value chain to identify additional areas. So I think it's had a massive impact. But the key point I want to land here is this is ESG in action. Well, we've started this journey. I call it the start of the journey because we've been working on this for now 4 or 5 years, where we were able to bring parties together, identify a conceptual solution, and it's now moving into the study phase. This is going to take 8 years to roll out. PwC is a trusted advisor here and a partner to Lebalelo. They, in fact, hardly move without consultation with us on certain key issues. So I think that relationship, that trusted advisor partner role that we've played is really, really bodes well for PwC going forward in lots of areas, because the cross-loss that we've seen on this client, and I'll just run you through some of where the cross-loss is already at play, has been clearly from a strategy and perspective. On the strategy, we've brought in the infrastructure team, doing a lot of work there now. In fact, they're doing predominantly most of the work. We've brought in a socio-economic development team. We've brought in corporate finance around financing and funding. We've brought in our tax team. We've brought in the economics team. So this thing has really got huge legs, and in fact, over time we expect this to probably even get bigger. I think the Lebalelo brand is also one of the things we're doing, is looking at how do we rebrand the organization for this new role that they're taking. But I think what you'll find over time is that this organization will go from strength to strength. And I think one of the drivers and levers behind that success will be PwC, almost powered by the PwC. So it is it's one of the reasons why I get up in the mornings, because this really touches at my heart that you're genuinely really making a difference. And I think the opportunity of PwC and its brand and its organization of being able to bring that complete set of skill sets has really resulted in us taking it from a disestablishment where this thing was going to be broken up and a destructive process, to a process now where we have got a collaboration between government and private sector that essentially this model could change this country's future.